Hey, let's show everybody. It is a gorgeous day, man.
Yeah,
wow, it is gorgeous.
It is.
Now, I was looking at the history here. 1974, the Roche family start dealing drugs to the Greystones community. January 1974.
Yeah.
You would have been only 1 or 2 then, I'm guessing.
I was just
probably not even born
two
yet.
and a half,
Yeah,
to be
there
honest.
you go.
Yeah.
Was there, I don't know whether that was because your father had worked with his uncles in Roche's in Dublin, O'Connell Street and Donnybrook and beyond. Was it a big deal in the family? I'm sure it must have felt...
He was delighted with himself. He had worked in industry beforehand and it had always been his dream to open up. And then when the old Condell's grocery shop was here before him and he spotted it, and then he bought it, and we all moved into the back of the building. And he opened up the shop, and he was in his element. As Mum said, when I'm doing this now, reopening again, she said Dad did it on his own way back 45 years ago. And it's as exciting for me, I think, as it was for him.
It must be a little bit Willy Wonka. When you're in your own community, there's a different feeling about just knowing people come through your door, and it becomes a social as much as a...
And it was lovely for Dad when he retired, because he was still in Greystones and he could meet all his customers. And then when I sold, when I was pregnant, I sold up and I leased the premises to another company. I missed it. Do you know, I mean, initially I was busy with the family, but then I really missed it, and it was lovely meeting all my customers around the town still. And the fabulous thing is now that I'm coming back, and I've just got such a reception. It's just incredible. I was thinking when
I realised too that there's your father, he's a pharmacist, your mom's a doctor. Did you guys ever get a sick day off, or was that going to happen?
They see through us all the time. Having said that, poor old Charlie, my older brother, who was fantastic, he ended up with a burst appendix because Mum, thought he was having her on.
That's great, isn't it? It's always the plumber has the burst, the sink that explodes at home. It's fine, leave it.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't get over one past Mum anyhow.
So you went to Trinity, you studied the academic side of pharmacy while you were doing the practical here with your father.
Yeah.
The move to Australia, you worked over there in community hospitals. I
did community and I did hospitals as well.
Right.
So I worked in a hospital that specialised in oncology and in maternity, believe it or not, beginning and end of life, and I learned an awful lot in that area, and also in community there.
Was it in the back of your mind that this is, basically a workman's holiday, that will sort of end up back in Ireland doing this? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I just love being a pharmacist. I love all the work. I never feel like it's going to work. I just love it. It's mad. I'm so lucky. So that when I was out there, I loved it, and I was picking up ideas that I knew I was going to put back into place when I came back here. So then when I came back, I worked for John Holly in Wicklow. I did 4 days a week for him and 2 days here with Dad. So that I could pick up then the business end here as well in Ireland. And then I moved back here. Then after a year, I came back in full time here.
So I'm thinking now, you came back in the 1990s, as you say, you're working for Dad a little bit, you're doing other places. 2005, you decide, well, the kids are important, you want to have that sort of life now. I'm guessing that was a big decision though, because you think of something that almost feels part of the family identity, part of the family history in the town.
Yeah.
Can you remember the feeling? Was it a long journey into deciding?
It was, and yet at the same time I knew, because of the way I was working, that I couldn't be a proper mum and run this properly at that stage.
Right.
Because I was completely immersed in this. And I just knew that it was going to be something was going to suffer. And I did try and I was looking around for a pharmacist who would cover here while I was gone, but I just didn't think anybody would do it the way I wanted it done, basically. So it was a decision made when during the pregnancy I had a threatened clot on my leg and I couldn't leave here. So at that stage I thought, right, okay, it was sort of made quickly in one respect, and yet it was, I talked to Dad about it, and it was the right thing to do at the time.
It's funny how outside kind of shifts basically make decisions for you. So in the case of your coming back here, that was sort of made in a way that it was suddenly became available, and you had just started in Newcastle, and you had obviously had no plan at that point to be back here as Roche's chemist. So that initial news that this shop was going to become available and you could go back here, any hesitation, any thoughts?
No, it was gas, because I have been doing locums in the community as well, and then I took the job in Newcastle because it finished early and I could be home for Billy. And the next thing was I came in one day and the sign was up on the window that they were moving, and I was completely taken aback, and it was like in 2.5 weeks time they were going. So initially that night I was sort of like, God, what am I going to do? So I just took out a notebook and I started writing, and by the morning it was clear that it was a gift. You know, it was just the best thing that's going to happen. So yeah, so I started making contact with people. You know, some of my old staff, which have come back to me, and some new staff, and.
I think there was Liz and Karen and Hazel. I'm trying to think there's a bunch of the ladies from that time.
I tried to get a few of them back. Heidi's down in Gorey and Camolan, tried to get her up.
Well, no, at least two of them are in rehab as well, so that makes it difficult.
Right,
it is difficult to get the time off. And they can work weekends on good behaviour, maybe.
And then you have Erica's coming back. I have Sharon coming back. I have a fabulous girl, Claire, who's worked in a couple of pharmacies here in Greystones. She's absolutely brilliant. Rita and Justina worked from before coming back, and you know, this goes on. It's fantastic.
Well, I'm guessing your family would sort of love the idea that it's sort of, you know, returning back to its roots and all that kind of thing. I mean, for Paddy, is it I'm sure it's a thrill to sort of think, oh, this is going to be our little place again.
When I made the decision that I was doing it, she just beamed, and I really feel that, you know, Dad's been involved in all this because everything has fallen into place perfectly.
Nice.
Every time they look like there's going to be a hiccup, something would happen, you know. And then even my older brother Charlie, he came home for a holiday, and he happened to be home last week when I needed all those little bits fixing, and you know, he just fixed bits here and there. It's just everything was just meant to be, I think. You know, it's just been brilliant.
Well, that's it. I think there is a sort of you know, when somebody like yourself, who you kind of know what you're doing now at this point, I think you're fairly well trained. There's a sort of a natural rhythm to it. Then it's not like you're going up against the unknown and you're struggling to figure out how do I do this.
I mean, I suppose being the third generation of pharmacists, you know, it's got to be in the blood too. You know, and I know the community here. I know Greystones. I know that, you know, I've been through the schools. You know, I know what goes on, and all of us here, we're all about just, you know, health inside and out, the whole healthy living, be it going for a walk on the seafront. I could say to people, you know, I'll tell someone to go for a walk as quickly as I'll tell them something, you know, that sort of way. So it's all about really the healthy lifestyle we can live in Greystones, and getting people healthy and to understand, you know, why they're on medication and what it's doing for them, because then people will comply better and people get better quicker. You know, so I mean, really, we want it's a centre of knowledge is what we're doing here, really. You know, and that's what we love.
I suppose the last thing is a friend of mine down in the Setting Club was wondering if you're going to have Viagra in stock, or will that be? Oh yes, we would have that on a vending machine. You know. Boom! There you go. I'll tell him. I mean, I'm not delighted. I'm sure he's delighted though. I'm not delighted.